Top 103 Jean-Jacques Rousseau Quotes. Man is born free and everywhere he is in chains. I prefer liberty with danger than peace with slavery. The world of reality has its limits, the world of imagination is boundless. Freedom is the power to choose our own chains. Man was born free, and he is everywhere in chains. Those who think themselves the masters of others are indeed greater slaves than they. The money you have gives you freedom, the money you pursue enslaves you. I have never believed that man's freedom consisted in doing what he wants, but rather in never doing what he does not want to do. People who know little are usually great talkers, while men who know much say little. There are always four sides to a story: your side, their side, the truth, and what really happened. The freedom of mankind does not lie in the fact that can do what we want, but that we do not have to do that which we do not want. Equality, because without it there can be no liberty. I would rather be a man of paradoxes than a man of prejudices. Beware of listening to this impostor. You are undone if you once forget that the fruits of the earth belong to us all, and the earth itself to nobody. Insults are the arguments employed by those who are in the wrong. Rather suffer an injustice than commit one. All kinds of frankness and honesty are terrible crimes in the eyes of society. To be sane in a world of madman is in itself madness. The general will is always right. Slaves lose everything in their chains, even the desire of escaping from them. The man who gets the most out of life is not the one who has lived it longest, but the one who has felt life most deeply. The falsification of history has done more to impede human development than any one thing known to mankind. Childhood has its own way of seeing, thinking, and feeling, and nothing is more foolish than to try to substitute ours for theirs. I may be no better, but at least I am different. We are reduced to asking others what we are. We never dare to ask ourselves. Civilization is a hopeless race to discover remedies for the evils it produces. Trust your heart rather than your head. Whoever refuses to obey the general will be forced to do so by the entire body. This means merely that he will be forced to be free. To write a good love letter, you ought to begin without knowing what you mean to say, and to finish without knowing what you have written. Do not judge, and you will never be mistaken. Everything we do not have at our birth and which we need when we are grown is given to us by education. Smell is the sense of memory and desire. Living is not breathing but doing. Finance is a slave's word. Those that are most slow in making a promise are the most faithful in the performance of it. Accent is the soul of language, it gives to it both feeling and truth. Virtue is a state of war, and to live in it we have always to combat with ourselves. What wisdom can you find that is greater than kindness? Men speak from knowledge, women from imagination. We should not teach children the sciences, but give them a taste for them. A man says what he knows, a woman says what will please. At 16, the adolescent knows about suffering because he himself has suffered, but he barely knows that other beings also suffer. I can only meditate when I am walking. When I stop, I cease to think, my mind works only with my legs. It is too difficult to think nobly when one thinks only of earning a living. Falsehood has an infinity of combinations, but truth has only one mode of being. You forget that the fruits belong to all and that the land belongs to no one. Every man has the right to risk his own life in order to preserve it. Has it ever been said that a man who throws himself out the window to escape from a fire is guilty of suicide? Conscience is the voice of the soul, the passions of the body. Absolute silence leads to sadness. It is the image of death. Happiness, a good bank account, a good cook, and a good digestion. Take the course opposite to custom and you will almost always do well. Liberty is obedience to the law which one has laid down for oneself. Quit thy childhood, my friend, and wake up. The person who has lived the most is not the one with the most years, but the one with the richest experiences. We pity in others only those evils which we ourselves have experienced. Universal silence must be taken to imply the consent of the people. Nature never deceives us, it is we who deceive ourselves. Teach by doing whenever you can, and only fall back upon words when doing it is out of the question. Abstract truth is the eye of reason. Whatever may be our natural talents, the art of writing is not acquired all at once. The strongest is never strong enough to be always the master, unless he transforms strength into right, and obedience into duty. To renounce freedom is to renounce one's humanity, one's rights as a man, and equally one's duties. I am not made like any of those I have seen. I venture to believe that I am not made like any of those who are in existence. If I am not better, at least I am different. Luxury either comes of riches or makes them necessary. It corrupts at once rich and poor, the rich by possession and the poor by covetousness. The happiest is he who suffers least, the most miserable is he who enjoys least. When a man dies, he clutches in his hands only that which he has given away during his lifetime. The empire of woman is an empire of softness, of address, of complacency. Her commands are caresses, her menaces are tears. One can buy anything with money except morality. Everything degenerates in the hands of man. Our will is always for our own good, but we do not always see what that is. The people is never corrupted, but it is often deceived, and on such occasions only does it seem to will what is bad. The training of children is a profession where we must know how to waste time in order to save it. Supreme happiness consists in self-content. That we may gain this self-content, we are placed upon this earth and endowed with freedom. General abstract truth is the most precious of all blessings. Without it, man is blind. It is the eye of reason. Those people who treat politics and morality separately will never understand either of them. I hate books. They only teach us to talk about things we know nothing about. He thinks like a philosopher, but governs like a king. Days of absence, sad and dreary, clothed in sorrow's dark array. Days of absence, I am weary, she I love is far away. Poetic verse by. Why should we build our happiness on the opinions of others, when we can find it in our own hearts? A feeble body weakens the mind. As soon as any man says of the affairs of the state, "What does it matter to me?" the state may be given up for lost. Every free action has two causes that come together to produce it. One is moral, the will that determines the act. The other is physical, the power that executes the will to act. We cannot work for others without working for ourselves. Women, in general, are not attracted to art at all, nor knowledge, and not at all to genius. War, then, is a relation, not between man and man, but between state, and individuals are enemies only accidentally, not as men, nor even as citizens, but as soldiers, not as members of their country, but as its defenders. The English think they are free. They are free only during the election of members of Parliament. Cities are the abyss of the human species. What, then, is the government? An intermediary body established between the subjects and the sovereign for their mutual communication, a body charged with the execution of the laws and the maintenance of freedom, both civil and political. Or, rather, let us be more simple and less vain. We cannot teach children the danger of telling lies to men without realizing, on the man's part, the danger of telling lies to children. A single untruth on the part of the master will destroy the results of his education. You are worried about seeing him spend his early years in doing nothing. What? Is it nothing to be happy? Nothing to skip, play and run around all day long? Never in his life will he be so busy again. There is no evildoer who could not be made good for something. A paralyzed man who wants to walk or an agile man who does not want to walk will both remain neutral in nature. It is manifestly contrary to the law of nature, however defined, that a handful of people should gorge themselves with superfluities while the hungry majority goes in need of necessities. Free people, remember this maxim: we may acquire liberty, but it is never recovered if it is once lost. The world is the book of women. Whatever knowledge they may possess is more commonly acquired by observation than by reading. When the people shall have nothing more to eat, they will eat the rich. Every man having been born free and master of himself, no one else may under any pretext whatever subject him without his consent. To assert that the son of a slave is born a slave is to assert that he is not born a man. The money that we possess is the instrument of liberty. That which we lack and strive to obtain is the instrument of slavery. We are born, so to speak, twice over, born into existence, and born into life, born a human being, and born a man. Liberty is not to be found in any form of government. She is in the heart of the free man. He bears her with him everywhere. In the strict sense of the term, a true democracy has never existed and never will exist.